Let's go with Barcelona because it really is no laughing matter. I thought there were mini steps of progress actually for much of the game against a much better opponent like Celta. And then
Like what? What was? Tell me, what was?
Luis Suarez gets back on the score sheet. I thought that I thought they moved the ball a little bit better in midfield. I thought they were better until Griezmann came on. Right? I mean,
well, Ricky Puig starting was a big difference.
Ricky Puig was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, so am I wrong, Sid?
No, but I think the first half was possibly the best first half we've seen, maybe the best first half we've seen under Quique Setien. There is a very big but coming up here, and we're not talking about Luis Suarez on this particular occasion. There's, the first half I thought was good. I thought they were good until they conceded the first goal to Celta. And then in particular, when they started making the changes, I thought they collapsed. And so, for example, while it is true that Celta obviously get the equaliser late on because of a free kick that's being kind of questioned a little bit, whether Rafinha was really fouled because it's a brilliant free kick, that Griezmann moves in the ball, all that stuff is true. But it's also true that for the last 15 minutes, it was coming. And all right, maybe 15, 20 minutes isn't enough to totally throw out a reasonable Barcelona performance until then. But for the last 15, 20 minutes, Celta just walked through that Barcelona midfield. They created a lot of chances. It was far too easy for them. Rafinha was, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to use this phrase on a family podcast like this. Rafinha was extracting the urine from the Barcelona midfield. I thought the last 20 minutes from Barcelona were embarrassing. I thought they played well for about an hour, but I thought the last 20 minutes or so were embarrassing. I thought they fell apart really easily. And also you have to look at the broader picture here, which is that this season away from home, Barcelona have gone away and won at Atletico Madrid, which is a really good result, a very late moment of brilliance from Messi, I think in the 90th minute. They went away to Getafe and won, which is a very good result. But apart from that, their only away wins are against the teams in 13th, 17th, 18th and 19th. They do not win away from home against anyone good, apart from, as I say, that.
But that's the whole season. So that's with two different managers. So like we blame all the bad stuff on Valverde before.
No, well that's part of the point, isn't it? That of course you look at that, and as I've said, there's two genuinely good away results, and those are Getafe and Atletico, and they're both with Valverde, not Setien. There isn't a progress in that sense. Of course, there's a shift in style. Of course, there are some things that Setien is doing, but I think more than looking at this in terms of where we blame Valverde or Setien, I think what this should really do is reinforce what we've been saying all the way through, which is this wasn't an issue of Valverde, or at least not an issue of only Valverde. This is a club that has got horrible problems running all the way through it, which are explained by the Arthur deal, which are explained by a whole load of other factors. And in a way, the miracle is that they were even in a position where they could have won the league, or still are in a position where they could theoretically still win the league.
I kind of feel like one lens on this is that Messi was normal in this game. Maybe normal by Messi standards. I don't know if you agree, Sid, but certainly wasn't heroic in carrying the team. And when Messi is normal, then all the other flaws appear more serious. There's no papering over cracks. There's no snatching results. I foolishly thought that Luis Suarez could impersonate Messi for a day by scoring 2 goals, and all of a sudden, But no, that didn't happen either. And again, also because I thought Celta were really good, but I'm very motivated in this game. Is it as simple as that? And can you also talk us through what happened, if we're going to talk Messi, what happened during that last drinks break that a lot of people have focused on?
Yeah, I mean, look, is it as simple as that? Is anything ever as simple as that? And so the answer is no. But of course, Messi, and I say this with a heavy heart, with a sense of the absurdness of what I'm saying. But of course, Messi is a problem at Barcelona in some ways because of that dependency upon him, because of the way that, we saw it. I think we saw it more in the 2 previous games, the determination of Barcelona's players to try and give the ball to Messi all the time, even when there are other players in better positions. The fact that if it doesn't, as you say, if it doesn't go through Messi, not very much happens. And actually, in terms of the result, Luis Suarez did step up this time. He scored 2 goals, which should have been enough for them to win this. It shouldn't have mattered. And Messi did one moment of genius, because I genuinely think that free kick in the first half is absolutely brilliant, from which Suarez scores the first goal. But this is an ongoing problem. And this asks all sorts of questions about the kind of players they've got, the structure they've got, how they build the team, the damage that was done by the departure of Neymar, if you like, the personality vacuum of other players, perhaps because of the dominance of the personality of Messi. I think what this also does, and again, as I say, it's not that simple, which is why I'm now talking for much longer than you probably want me to, but it also does, it asks that question about just how good has Messi been over the last 5 years, because it feels at times like he's carrying a team, and yet he sort of isn't, because it's a team full of really good players. And this is a team that when he hasn't been there, has sometimes risen to the occasion. You know, the 5-1 against Real Madrid in the Clasico, I think it was a 4-0 against Real Madrid in the Clasico, 2 results that they picked up without him, when they went on really good runs without him. But they're so wedded to him now that the loading of responsibility onto his shoulders is really, really problematic. The question is how much of that is down to him? How much of that is down to structure? And look, I've said this lots of times before, but I'm going to say it once more. I think it was summer of 2014, Ter Stegen, Luis Suarez and Ivan Rakitic came. I don't think since 2014 they've signed a single player who is an unqualified success. 5 years now.
All right. I'm going to ask you about the Archer Pjanic deal in a minute, but first they have a big game coming up against Atletico Madrid on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Atleti have won every game since the restart. We were all so excited by the 5-0, and then, you know,
against
it's been
Osasuna, but then
3
we
goals.
remembered it was Osasuna. And then...
Yeah, 3 goals by 1 goal margin. It's just a brief detour on Atleti. They beat Alaves 2-1. They went 2-0 up. But the second goal, the one which ultimately was decisive, was the game winner for them. Is that penalty? Marcos Llorente and I think it was Rodrigo Eli. That wasn't really a penalty, was it?
Right. Yeah, it was Domingos Duarte, by the way, but it doesn't really matter who it was. It doesn't really matter who it was because I don't have the words for this, Gab. I don't have the words to express how awful this is. Right now, I don't mind referees making bad decisions, but if you've got a VAR, I think we have a really big problem, which is I think that what VAR is doing, and you know, forgive me for turning a concrete question, which is whether or not this is a penalty, into a conceptual debate. I think what VAR is doing is VAR is making football, reducing football to technicalities and losing the essence of what the game itself is. And so what will happen is, I think, and this is, I say this because I've seen the discussions in the media over this, could this be a penalty or not? People saying, well, there was contact. Well, yes, there's contact because Llorente treads on the defender. So how is that a penalty? And one of the things, it's absolutely not a penalty. I mean, it's laughable that it's given. My problem with this is that I think it's reducing football to technicalities and to freeze frames and losing the essence of the game itself. And I think what's happening is that, and one good example of this is that I had the hope that one of the things that VAR would do is it would stop people diving. And I think actually the opposite is happening. Because I think players now know that if they can go into the penalty area and provoke a contact anywhere, the VAR will look at it and go, oh, look, there's the contact, penalty. And I think it is the way it is at the moment, and I apologise because I started ranting now and I don't mean to, I would ditch it. I don't think we are getting big enough improvements in justice to justify all the other nonsense. And also I accept that I say this as someone who of course, look, part of the reason is that we forget the good things we're getting from it because we start taking them for granted. But I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure it's worth it.
The refereeing situation in Spain, I really find it baffling. I promise you, Sid, and I don't know if it's because the referee think, well, we've got VAR behind us, so we can, you know, if we make a mistake, it doesn't matter so much because they will correct us or whatever. But that penalty for Atletico Madrid is just.
Well, Jules, you raise an interesting question because I think one of the things that's happening with VAR is obviously it's changing the way that referees referee. And I had this discussion with Graham Hunter a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago, in fact, where he was praising a referee for having the personality to take a decision himself and not go to the VAR and not ask the VAR because it was something that happened right in front of him. And of course, the referee sees it in real time. He sees a real action in the game rather than a slowed down version of a freeze frame, which is totally denaturalizing the game. Now, for what it's worth, I disagree with Graham in terms of the decision that was taken by the referee, but totally agree in terms of the personality. But I think what's happening is I agree with you. I think a lot of referees thinking, well, I'll hold back because the VAR will then tell me. The flaw in that plan is the VAR is now not telling them. There seems to be this curious sense of whoever's in the VAR room thinking, I don't want to delegitimize the referee here, so I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. Because if there's any way, it almost feels like they're watching the image to see if they can justify the decision in any way. And if they can, fine, we'll leave it where it is.
Okay, this is year 2 of VAR in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's a different system this year than last year, though. It's genuinely changed this year.
But I think, I mean, I've said this many times, I'm repeating myself, but I think what we need to know, because there is a way to avoid these situations, or there's an intent behind it. And what should have happened here is the VAR should have told the referee what actually happened in terms of the contact. The VAR, who is a referee himself, would have said, just so you know, the contact that you see happens because Marcos Llorente tried to take evasive action, or he left his leg dragging and whatever. And then the referee might say, oh, really? Oh, I didn't see that from my vantage point. And let me take another look at it. And, I think as long as we don't know the conversations between the VR and the referee, it's really difficult to know where the quote-unquote mistake happened. But we all agree it was a mistake. We've talked about this for, it feels weeks, but Artur and Pjanic, the swap deal is finally done. It's essentially, it's Pjanic plus 10 million going one way, and Artur going the other way. Now, Jules and I don't really like this deal from a Barcelona perspective. It's fair to say.
Just don't get it.
We think this is kind of purely accounting sleight of hand, and not even sleight of hand. I mean, those are accounting rules, so it's legit. But magicking money out of nowhere that non-accountants understand. Is there a footballing reason why Pjanic is there?
Right. Look, I'm going to try and keep this brief, okay? Because it's quite difficult to keep it brief because, as you say, there are all these complexities. And I think you've put it dead right there, Gab. This is an accounting issue, and it's a way of magicking money out of nowhere. But by the way, it's a way of magicking money that's not real. It's a way of magicking money on a balance sheet, but not in real life. The real money moving is only about 10 million euros. And this is about protecting the directors of Barcelona. It's not even about just balancing the books for this year. It's about making sure you balance the books for this year so that the directors are not personally liable. So this is protecting themselves, right? This is protecting themselves. It's not even protecting the club, because this book balancing problem will re-emerge next year. But it's about getting through each hurdle. And we'll cross the next bridge when we get to it. It's about self-preservation. That's what's really driven this. And this is why, in answer to your question, is there a footballing reason? It's possible that there are some footballing reasons. It's possible that there are some, but they're not what's driven this, which is why, and I bow to you two on this because I don't know anything like as much about Pjanic as either of you two do. This is why I think the fundamental short version of the answer here is, and I was writing about this for ESPN the other day actually, is that imagine this deal from Barcelona's point of view works out perfectly, right? Absolutely perfectly. Imagine it's the perfect scenario. Pjanic is brilliant for Barcelona. Arthur goes to Juventus is awful, right? It's still the wrong deal, because even if it's the right deal, it's been done for the wrong reasons. This is the wrong deal, and it's been done for the wrong reasons, and it's been driven by a motivation to rescue board members, not to try and win things. And in that sense, I think it's completely indefensible.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.